Welcome to the All Matt's Taken Yoga Business Podcast. I'm your host, Adrienne Jarrett, and today I have the pleasure of being joined by Eddie Arpin, CEO and co-founder of OfferingTree, and we'll be talking about time-saving tech to incorporate into your yoga business. We're covering booking platforms, whether or not you need a website, and we also get into a bit of a discussion around AI, talking about the hesitations and use cases and ways that yoga teachers can actually use it productively. If you're not familiar with OfferingTree, it is an all-in-one scheduling and marketing platform that has helped thousands of fitness and wellness business entrepreneurs and owners, especially yoga teachers, take the headache out of running their businesses. Eddie loves to help people solve their tech problems and set them up for success so they can focus on growing professionally and helping their students and clients. And I think this episode will be super helpful for anyone who is looking to take their business to the next level, or they're getting started and wondering how they can incorporate booking systems and software and AI assistance into their businesses. And I think everyone will find this useful whether you are an OfferingTree customer or not. But if you would like to give OfferingTree a test drive, they are gifting our listeners a free trial, and then you can grab 50% off your first 3 months or 15% off your first annual subscription. Visit allmatstaken.com/tree or go check the show notes for links so you can claim this offer and give OfferingTree a try. I use OfferingTree on my yoga website, and I've often had new clients comment on how professional and easy it was for them to book, which we will get into a little bit in this episode as to why that is helpful getting new clients, but it just adds that extra layer of trust and removes barriers for new people to come in and try your class. There's like a trick one that we kind of talk about that I wasn't expecting that is a really useful thing that we'll discuss later in this episode. Let's get a little bit nerdy today and dive into the world of business tech and software for yoga teachers. Welcome to the show, Eddie. I'm so happy to have you on. And I'd love to start with a little bit about OfferingTree's origin story. How did you go from a master's in mechanical engineering and building GPS navigation systems to serving yoga teachers who we're not always the most tech savvy folk out there?
Well, isn't that obvious? Come on. It's an obvious, next step, right? No, just kidding. Thanks for having me on the podcast. Happy to be here. So yeah, I was mechanical engineering by training. I was kind of a nerd, software engineer and mechanical engineer, but I've always had an interest in entrepreneurship, and actually was doing some research at a university, and we started doing mobile apps. This was I think a few years into the iPhone and all that, when everybody wanted an app. It kind of started an app company. And then I was working at, then I got fully out of engineering and started doing software development. I was working at a local software startup that was doing something kind of similar to OfferingTree, but more in the youth sports space. And then one of my friends who was managing a local donation-based community yoga studio in Minneapolis, I'm in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, asked me we were on pen and paper doing booking and collecting payments in a box where we would just throw cash into a box. And we wanted to do a booking platform. We tried the big player, but it was kind of a disaster. We're a donation-based studio. We don't really fit in with the normal way of the way they were doing things. And it totally killed the vibe of our studio. Can you develop some software for us? And I was like, well, I don't know. That's a pretty big project for one yoga studio, but maybe there's a business here. Maybe there's other yoga studios that have the same needs. So we got together, and I got a few of my colleagues together, and we started looking at the space in the health and wellness space. And we were doing a lot of interviews of teachers and studio owners. And actually at the time, this was in 2015, 2016, we really saw a need for the individual teachers who were really struggling, teaching out to make a living, just teaching yoga. Specifically, OfferingTree helps teachers of many different sort of health and wellness modalities, but yoga was sort of was one of the origin stories, that and like meditation, mindfulness. And like these teachers were just really struggling teaching at multiple studios, teaching a ton of classes, trying to stitch it together. And we were thinking, well, there are some solutions for studios, but what about the teacher? They seem that they love to spend time with students, but setting up everything else they need for a business is a lot of work, like a website, online booking, payments, you name it. And it's a lot to put on to someone who's already super busy. Could we make their life easier by creating all of this in one platform? So that was actually the origin story of OfferingTree. And then we've sort of grown from there. I mean, now we, service not only the individual teachers, but also studios as well with, multiple staff in multiple locations. So it's really been kind of a journey since 2015, 2016, but it's been really fun serving this segment and in the health and wellness industry. Everyone's like really great.
Yeah, I love how you have lots of like education around business for yoga teachers as well, and guest speakers, and you do a lot of collabs and things, and it's just all in one place. So it makes it really easy for me to recommend it to people as a website designer, because I know how there's so many different options and so many things you can piece together. But for someone that's like, I just want to teach, it's like a one-stop shop. So I really appreciate that as a software. You've also got an app now as well.
Yeah. We launched our OfferingTree app, and then you can also have like a branded app too if you want your own app in the App Store, and that launched earlier this year too. So yeah, that's been great. And yeah, going back to what you said about offering education, I mean, this was my first founding software company as well. So there's been a lot of learning on my side on all the business and marketing and sales and all that stuff. So I feel like I'm like going through it along with all of our customers and like figuring all this stuff out. So I definitely have like a lot of empathy for what, everyone's going through, because you have to do so much as a business owner or a teacher, where you're not only teaching the classes, but you're doing the marketing and you're managing the website and everything else. It's a lot. So fully appreciate all of that, and happy to like try to support people in more than just the software, but like the education to like how best to use the software as well, and like even just marketing and other things in the business that could be helpful for our customers.
Mm. Yeah, because there's a lot that you can do with OfferingTree. I haven't even ticked all of the boxes playing with it myself yet. For any yoga teachers that are new or they're not using a booking platform yet, why should they add one to their business? Like, why did that original business decide that donation boxes were too complicated and they wanted to formalize it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like a really personal question for like, some people can get away with pen and paper. It really depends on like what your goals are, how many people do you want to serve, where you're spending your energy, what's taking up your energy. I think for that studio in particular, they were growing. It just became like unwieldy, and there were a lot of things that were taking up energy from them that they didn't want to do, like managing the payments, making sure that like people could book in a seamless way. When there was getting to be where there's just lines out the door, like trying to collect the pay, like, and it was really kind of killing the flow of the studio. They wanted this experience where people could just kind of like walk in, have everything that could be done before they walked in done, and everyone could just focus on the yoga class. So, I think if you're a teacher or you're a studio and things are starting to break, or you're spending a lot of time in areas where it's taking your energy and you don't really want to spend time, maybe there's a solution for that, and booking platforms and marketing platforms can help with some of that like day-to-day drudgery that could give you a little bit of time back and energy back in your day to do like the things that you want to be doing and that give you energy in your business.
Mm. Yeah, that's a good point. And what features do you think yoga teachers should look out for when they're trying to find a booking platform? Are there any that are like just really not necessary that sort of hype it up?
Oh, so, I mean, totally. And again, it goes back to the like where you're at, like and what your goals are and what's taking your energy. I'd say like I can think of it as like the basics. You want people to like book online, simply just be able to go to a booking page, register for one of your classes or your appointments and pay. That would be like step one. I mean, that can like free you up if you're starting to get a lot of clients, a lot of students, and you find yourself like, if you are doing pen and paper, that can become unwieldy fast. I mean, I think it's rare that people are just doing pen and paper anymore. Almost everyone has some kind of booking platform, but certainly like that's one area. That's kind of the basics. And I would say like, you want to make sure that it's really easy for not only you to use, but your clients. It's probably most important that it's a booking platform is like really easy for your clients, because you don't want like anybody be confused and then you like miss out on money. But I would say, some of the other features to look for, like next level from the basics, would be, things that can do like memberships and packages and manage all of that, credits, wait lists. Reminder emails can be big, especially if you're doing like online stuff where people are just used to kind of like running from like one thing to the next, but all at home. Oftentimes, if you have to go somewhere, you kind of like that takes up a little bit more mental space for you and you remember that one. But for me too, I still forget like meetings here and there, like, oh shoot, I had like this appointment that was at home. So I think like managing like reminders and things can help a lot. Like video on demand options are big right now. I think like, even though a lot of in-person stuff is happening, and in-person stuff I think is like, that's one trend of really seeing that have come back since the pandemic, and people, loneliness is a big thing and people really crave that in-person experience again. But still like, people are used to kind of a hybrid lifestyle now, and being able to, if they can't make it to the studio or a class, being able to have an option to take a workout from their teacher remotely. Other next level features would be like client management and communication tools, keeping all of your clients organized, easy ways to like send them communications. And then kind of the more advanced features would be like marketing and workflow automation. So if you're like, when you're starting to scale and getting like a lot more clients, easy ways to follow up with people. Sometimes you start like losing touch of, wait, who just came in for a drop-in that I want to upsell to a membership, you can get disorganized. So having kind of like they call it like a CRM, like client resource management tools or automations to help keep you organized and just have those things kind of running in the background, where you're not having to like keep up with those on the day-to-day, can really save you a lot of time and stress, and like help you improve your business and grow your business. Things like task management and text messaging marketing are like more advanced features. But again, like those features that are more advanced, unless they fit where you're at, and unless they're taking up energy for you, like those could be things that aren't useful, and you don't want to overpay for those things. So I guess it's important to make sure that like you have a software that's right sized for what you need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. And especially if maybe you're not the most tech savvy, all of the advanced things might get a little bit confusing when you really just need to be able to set up those basic things. I wanted to say something else as well that you made me think of around payments, because I have noticed with some younger people that come into my class, paying in cash is like a awkward thing for them. Like, to come up and hand me the money is like, oh, I don't want to, like, they get shy about it. Whereas, so if you have like the option to be able to pay online as well, it just takes that little bit of awkwardness from some people. I guess it's probably a generational thing, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. It's making me think of like the phone call versus text.
Exactly.
How
Yeah.
sometimes like younger people think the phone calls, well, it makes people feel uncomfortable. Like handing someone cash, it's more personal. Like there's actually a physical thing passing between you and them, and it feels like I could see that. I could see that. That's funny that you articulate that. I haven't thought of that, but I could totally see that happening.
She was with her sister, and her sister's older, and she's like, just give her the money. I don't get it. And she was like, ooh, ooh, ooh. And I was like, it's okay. Thank you.
It's funny.
The other cool feature that OfferingTree has as well is the sliding scale. I think that's important to look out for in a booking platform for yoga teachers, if that's important for you, because I teach that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad that you like that. I mean, that's kind of a shout out to our origins as the donation-based yoga studio, because that's how that was one of the things. Like, let's support donations and let's support sliding scale. So cool. I'm glad that you like that.
Yeah, I use that for my classes. I was talking to someone recently, and apparently yoga studios that use sliding scale or donation based generally do better than flat fees. So I've got to find the study on that, but I thought that was really interesting. The other cool feature of OfferingTree is you've got a website builder. Websites can be pretty complicated. Do yoga teachers need websites, or can they just have a booking form?
You're gonna not like me, but I'm gonna say it depends again. I think like you could get away with just a booking form. I think what you'd want to look at is like, are people dropping off? Like, are you getting, if they're, it'd be nice if you could have some way of measuring like how many people are going to your booking form and then how many people are booking a class. Because if you are seeing a lot of drop off or you're seeing that your classes aren't getting registrants, you might need more info for them, where like a supporting website could really be helpful for that. Like tell a little bit more of your story, give people more resources to like understand like who you are and what you offer and what's in it for them. Like what results are they going to get from showing up to your classes? I think that is an important job of the website that a simple booking form might not be able to do. But it really depends on your business. And if you're able to offer that in other ways than the website, like if you have this amazing referral network or something where, people know you, they don't need a website to know you and what you offer and what you're going to do for them, maybe then you don't need it. But I would say, it really depends on where you're not succeeding towards your goals. But I would say like a website is never a bad idea to just have a little bit more robust of a online presence so people can like learn about you and learn about, what you offer and what you can do for them.
Mm. And then it opens the possibility of being found on Google a little bit easier as well.
Yes, absolutely. Like SEO is a whole nother topic SEO is changing so dramatically with AI and like AI overviews and all of that stuff changing like day to day, week to week, month to month. But that's a whole nother podcast episode. But even like, yeah, local SEO, like making sure you have some place for people to land. Like if you're optimizing your Google profile, so if someone's searching Google Maps for you or something, or Google Maps for a business like yours or something that, there is a place to go to like find out more about you. I mean, there's so many ways that you can utilize a website, even in like even if you're postering, having a QR code that if it just goes to a booking form, again, like people might want to know more information that the website's a great place to be able to do that.
Most people find my class through Google Maps and Google My Business Profile, and then to my website, and then to my booking form from there. So I think it's definitely really valuable. Just depends on how you're building your funnel, really, like where are you driving those people. But yeah, for local classes, I think that's really, really, really valuable to have. Looking at clients that you've had over the years, is there anything you've noticed that the most successful yoga teachers do in terms of like the business system set up to achieve this?
That's a good question. Like I would say like the trend I've noticed from OfferingTree customers that are successful is they seem like they have good focus. And sort of what I mean by that is they seem to know like where they want to spend their energy, and that goes through like in their marketing, and who they serve, and also what they offer. So they're just very clear on all of those things. And I think that there's no shortcut to that. It comes with experience, like, and it comes from experimentation, trying and like knowing yourself. I'm thinking of this parallel between like knowing yourself like as you get older, you sort of like know yourself better and you kind of become more efficient with dealing with the world because you know how like every little thing's going to impact you and what you can kind of do to like, and I feel like your business is kind of like a similar thing. Like you kind of like your business kind of goes through that same process where you're like, nope, I know I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this, and having the confidence to say no to things and just know what you're good at and where you want to focus your energy. I think that I'm thinking of a particular studio that we have that actually is a fairly new studio, OfferingTree, but they've been around for like 20 some years and they were on MindBody for 13 years or something. And they switched recently, and it's been really enlightening to talk to her and, hear about her business and what she's doing. And she's kind of like this stereotype of who I think of who's like got things figured out. I've seen it in other successful customers of OfferingTree. And it's hard to get to, but it's cool when you see that.
Yeah, so I guess there's no shortcuts for using AI hacks for getting to that. It's more about self-knowledge then and your business and customers and what your goals are.
Yeah, absolutely. And even with the AI, you need to know how to talk to it, right? And that comes with like experience and you have to like focus the AI, because if you give it too broad of a task, it's going to come out with junk. So you almost have to have focus with the AI too to get good results.
Speaking of AI, we were talking about it a little bit before this episode, so I sort of already know, but are you excited or hesitant about AI? How do you feel about it?
I think a little bit of both. I think it has, it's obviously already saving people a lot of time. And I call it like the blank cursor problem. Sometimes like you have like writer's block, or you just need like some help getting started. I think AI can be a great way to like get the conversation started. It's almost like talking with a friend or something about, asking it questions. It's spitting it back, and you can almost have like a back and forth, and then hone in on what you want. It can be amazingly powerful for things like that. I think we were talking before the episode on like how the technology community creates a lot of hype around things. And I do think that there is a ton of hype around AI. It's really hard to know what's going to come to fruition and what's going to be uh, unrealized like hype. So it is it is interesting, and it's I don't feel like I'm expert enough to say like what's hype and what's actually come to fruition. I don't know if anybody does, but I can be a little bit skeptical about like, oh, it's gonna be able to do everything for me. I have a hard time as a business owner being able to have AI not have me or a real person in between AI and a customer or or a student or something. Like, I think that there's there's a lot of great like chatbots and things. It kind of scares me a little bit, like what it would generate and what it would say, like putting words in your mouth for your business. But I do think it has a lot of potential to like help people create and get people started.
Yeah, I am super dubious about the hallucinations, especially with ChatGPT, because I was building a chatbot for the summit and it was like trained on the knowledge base of like the summit presentations. I've got it working now, but the idea is that it helps people find the presentation that they want and like get summaries of those presentations and helps them work on something. So it's got all the action steps from each presenter. And then within that, it will help them like flesh out how to build a workshop, for example. And it would just get stuck, and then it would just completely make stuff up. Like it would have real people that are real yoga teachers in the industry, people that I've never had anything to do with at all. And it would be like, yeah, they are a speaker and they talked about this topic, and it would go on that. And I was like, I can't put this out there with people having this. Like, people, what if they find out and then it looks like I'm saying that this person was part of my event? So I'm very dubious about some of the hallucinations and whether that's always getting caught from everything that everyone's making. Like, are there enough human checkers, I suppose, in the processes? So I'm very dubious. And it's interesting, like you said, it's really hard to know, and you will understand this technology more than me, but I've been studying a lot this year about it. It's really hard to know what is way overhyped versus what is realistic expectations. Because as I understand it from a lot of data engineers, it's basically a really, really advanced pattern recognition system. And it's very good at that. But then you've got other people saying it's like a sentient being effectively. And some of these are huge people in the founding members of this technology. I also wonder what we as like the general public have access to versus like what some other people maybe have access to. And our experience with like Claude or ChatGPT isn't necessarily the same experience that some of the data engineers working on this technology have, like what they know that their models are capable of. So it's tricky. It's
Yeah.
tricky.
Yeah. And like your point of the reluctance with the hallucinations. I mean, that's exactly where I'd be a little nervous about. Like, you almost need another AI to check on your AI to make sure that it's not saying something incorrectly. I don't know, like, or like a rules based thing. Like, yeah. So they're working. I'm sure that stuff will get ironed out a little bit, and we're working on how can we best bring AI to OfferingTree to make people's lives easier. So where I see possibly a first step with OfferingTree is changing, like, traditionally when you're dealing with software, you're sort of like hunting around for, oh, how do I do this thing within the software, right? But, having, like, being able to have a conversation with an AI that then can either show you how to do it within the software or do it for you could be a really interesting new way of how to interface with software. My co-founder was doing this with Figma, actually has this already, and it was really impressive. I was like, geez, Arvin, how did you become such an expert in Figma? Like, you created this mock-up in no time. Like, that's really impressive. And he's like, actually, Figma's AI, I just was having a conversation with it, and it was mocking up this interface for me. I don't know if people don't know what Figma is. It's it's sort of like a Illustrator or like Adobe Photoshop or Canva kind of like thing where you can create mock-ups and designs of websites and apps. But it's fairly complicated if you've never used it before. But be able to just talk with an AI agent and tell it what you want and have it build it for you, that's pretty cool. So, yeah.
That's very cool. I can see it having a lot of really good use cases for people that aren't that tech savvy, that are just like, I just want to do this thing, or getting tech help. Like, I'm stuck on this thing, help me do this. That's really useful.
Yeah.
How do you see AI transforming the marketing landscape for yoga teachers specifically? Are there any other use cases you're looking into?
Yeah, it is interesting. I think content creation, is an obvious one if you're thinking about, like, getting help on your website, copy. But again, it's an iterative thing where you need to have some focus. So, like, really understanding the prompts is important, I think, for all of that, or how you talk with the AI. It really kind of makes you think of it. I read a newsletter the other day about how someone who's feeling like it's making them a better communicator with actual people because they're they're prompting the AI so much that they're like, wait a minute, I need to be crystal clear with this AI. Otherwise it's going to misinterpret what I'm saying and give me a result that I don't want. So I have to write, like, almost like specifications for what I want and be really clear about my expectations and what I'm looking for and all of this. And they're like, it's really translating to my communication with people too. I think I'm starting to think about it. I thought that was interesting. So, uh, yeah, I mean, to answer your question, I do think, it can be, I don't know how good it is for, like, creating sequences or any of that type stuff, but I do feel like for creating content or, newsletters, you definitely want to be checking it and creating a human touch. Again, like, you don't want, I like to put myself in between the AI and my customers. So I do feel like you need to do that, but it can definitely speed you up and help you out. Like, it's a great, like, editor and also idea generator. So that's how I use it within the marketing and offering tree. And I think that's how my team uses it as well.
I think there's two sides. There's either a first draft creator effectively, and then you go and edit it and add your human touches, or you have your input and then you're like, can you please help spell check or edit this or any bits that I've missed? But either way, you're not just having it as its creator for you.
Right. Yeah. I'd be interested. What do you see with that same?
Yeah, I think a lot in terms of repurposing content, like making it so that we can show up everywhere, because there's so much like pressure to be like, you need a blog and you need like a podcast and you need to be on social media all the time, and just like making showing up doable. Whereas the way I see it and the way my goals to use it is that I have long form content, and long form content is very much trending at the moment. And then you can use that long form content to make all your short form content, and you use AI to do that process for you, and you've got it trained on how to do like how to write these things for you. And then still, it's like your first assistant. So you still want to go through and check it. You can train it really well. So it's producing something that's like maybe 90%, maybe even more there, but you're still going through and doing like a final check and just like treating it as your first assistant. I was also talking to Amanda, and she said there are tools to make like holographic yoga teachers.
Whoa.
Which is very interesting and quite crazy, but apparently people are working on that. I think yoga teachers in a unique way can't be replaced entirely by robots, like maybe in some cases for some people, but it's such like a personal journey, and often you really connect with your yoga teacher on that communicative level. And I mean, maybe the robotic technology somewhere in the future will go in a way that I don't understand, but I don't see that replaced by a human.
I hope not anytime soon.
Because also practicing with other people in a group has a different energy about it. And
100%. Yeah. And I think back to like when I was talking about like loneliness and stuff, I think like one of the huge advantages of going to a boutique studio or a teacher in a class is that connection with other humans. I mean, we're social beings, right? And so I think there's a lot of value you get from being with people. So I hope that never goes away. So yeah. But no, that was a great using it to repurpose content. That's 100%. We do that at OfferingTree, like being able to turn this podcast into a blog post and then turning it into social media posts. I mean, yeah, that's 100% a great example of a good use of AI.
have you seen yoga teachers being hesitant about using AI in their business? You mentioned you're hesitant about customer-facing roles. Is there anywhere else that you see hesitancy around AI use?
I don't know. I feel like AI has been. I would say it depends. I feel like just in general, people have been pretty quick to adopt AI and try it out. Like I just feel like I think it's a very simple interface, and it's like just talk to it. You know, and humans are great at that and like understand that, and it's really easy. And I think similar to like how maybe Google was just super simple, where it would just be like type something into Google and it'll try to answer your question. I think it's very like the interface is very similar to that. So I think, and it's fun to experiment with. So I actually am kind of amazed at how quick teachers have been to adopt it and try it out. So I'm actually more surprised about the adoption than the hesitancy. But I'd be curious to hear like if you feel the same way or have different experience.
I mean, I was definitely hesitant at the start because I grew up watching science fiction and reading science fiction novels. So I was like, oh man, the robot apocalypse is in my lifetime.
It's happening.
It's happening. Like, we've all watched iRobot. Why? Why did we do this? But then I'm a mom, I'm a single mom, and I was like, I need to transcribe these interviews into blog posts, which I'm still working on. And I tried to do them myself. And these are like 40,000 words. It's ridiculous. I have the transcript, but then editing that in terms of like grammatically making it readable form versus listening is a whole different task. And then I was like, oh, I'll hire to do it. And I went to my friend who I get to do things for me sometimes. And I was like, how would you feel about doing this? And she was like, that is an enormous job. That'll take forever. So then I was like, all right, I'll look into this AI business. And that was last year. And then this year I was like, I need to research it more just in terms of the assistant and the time-saving capabilities for me. I think it's just different generations as well from people I've talked to, like people being hesitant. Same as me, we remember a time before the internet, so it's a little bit more hesitancy in letting something non-human take over another part of our worlds. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on. I've got to look into it a little bit more. Have you seen people using it as like their spiritual guides?
I've heard about that. Yeah, and I think like another I mean, one piece that I'm hesitant with AI is maybe the data, like the data privacy, right? I mean, it's really interesting because, I think everyone's like, there's that joke about like, if I die, clear my internet search history or something for me or something like that. But like, what is everyone telling like the AIs and like, or, for us, it's like, well, we want to make sure that we're like safeguarding data privacy of like, our proprietary information or things and our customers and stuff, and not like using it in a way where, you're feeding these companies information that you wouldn't feel comfortable someone else having. I think that's going to be probably an ongoing discussion with AI. And I think that creates a lot of hesitancy in the business world of using AI and making sure that like there's data protections in place. It's something to think about, I guess. I mean, just like, with Facebook and everything else tech, people are feeding it a lot of information, and it's something to consider. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting caveats and little things that you don't really think about right away, and then you're like, oh, wait a minute. So yeah, I hope AI doesn't totally take over human relationships, and that we could still, have a lot of human to human connection in the future.
Yeah, I agree. I think it might be one of those things where we'll like ride a little wave and then people will go, oh, we actually crave humans again. Because that's what happened over COVID. Like we're all isolated from each other, and then everyone's come out and been like, no, we need people.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the introverts were very happy about it, but we are a human. We're meant to be in a village. We're social animals.
Right.
At the end of the day.
Yeah. And I mean, cell phones have already taken away so much of our human connection. So, hopefully.
Well, one interesting thing is that I've seen an argument is that it'll remove part of that. So I can see it potentially adding more social interaction, because ultimately there's predictions we won't have cell phones anymore. You'll have some glasses, or you'll just talk to something and it'll go and book your appointment. So you're not sitting there Googling which restaurant to go to or something. It's kind of doing that stuff for you so that you are freed up to be interacting with other humans on a human level. I'm glad you brought up the data privacy. That's really important. I heard someone say, don't put anything into it that you wouldn't be happy posting on Reddit. And I think to start, that's a pretty good rule of thumb to follow. Yeah.
Yeah. Different things for different people. Some people post everything on Reddit.
That is true. Awesome. I'll come back around to our rapid fire question time. So what is one of the biggest misconceptions that you think yoga teachers often face when it comes to business software and incorporating them into their business?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think some people have, different expectations. Like I'd say some people think like, oh, this is going to solve my marketing problem if I just sign up for the software. But again, just like the AI and everything else we've been talking about, I think, it really depends what you put into it, and that you have to make sure that like, you're conveying your messaging, and you still have to do the work, I guess, to get something out of it. It's not simply like this magic wand that you can just sign up for and it's going to solve all your problems. So it's really important to kind of understand maybe at the beginning what your problems are in your business, and these are the tools that you need, but the education on how to use them and the teachers actually doing the work to extract the value out of the tools is important, which is why we try to provide as much education along with the software as we can.
Yeah, that's something I've come across as well a lot as a website designer. People are like, oh, you'll build me a website and that'll like solve all my bankruptcy issues. And I'm like, no, please don't build a website.
Yeah.
That's not going to solve your problems.
100%. Yeah. And that's great that you're able to like hear that misplaced expectation and like sort of confront it right away. Because yeah, I think some people are like, okay, you built me this website. Why aren't people knocking down my door for my services? Right.
Mm-hmm. What is one marketing strategy that has worked better than you expected it to?
I would say early on for us, just talking to customers and just asking for help. I think, and that's a marketing strategy because most of our growth comes from word of mouth. So our customers referring other customers. And I think it's something that we didn't expect to have that big of an impact. And so really just making sure that, actually, I was just talking about this with someone else about like, it's kind of a tangent, but Disneyland and Disney, about like how good of an experience they create when you go there. I haven't been there in a few decades, but someone that I was talking to recently had been there, and just saying like, if you wow someone with the experience of interacting with you and your services, like that's going to create like a magical experience for them, and they're gonna be more likely to refer. So I think just like the power of leaning into your students and clients, and sometimes asking for their help and providing more people like them can be a great way to grow a business. I think for us, that was a strategy that worked better than expected.
That's awesome. That's a good one. We haven't had that one yet from anyone, so thank you. And finally, if you could go back to when you first, if you could go back to when you first became an entrepreneur and pass on one piece of advice, what would that be?
That is a great question. I usually go back to focus, which I know I've talked about already in this podcast episode, with like what I see other OfferingTree users, what traits I find from them for being successful. I think focus is definitely one of them. And it's something that I've learned through entrepreneurship. I mean, more often than not, I find that OfferingTree, we're doing too many things instead of spending more time on fewer things. Sometimes, especially in like marketing or something, if you're like, okay, I'm gonna really go hard on social media. I'm really gonna go hard on like creating content, and I'm gonna try paid ads, and I'm gonna be postering, and I'm gonna be doing all these things. I'm gonna be building out a partner network and talking to Pyros and other people to try to refer clients to me. You'll spread yourself too thin. Nothing will. Oftentimes, like if you just focus on one thing and you do it really well, it can create a bigger result than working on 10 different things a tenth of the time. And sometimes too, if you're working on so many things, you're not really sure what's working. You're like, I mean, there's ways to figure it out, but it's really simple to know what's working and what's not working when you're only doing one thing. So I think the advice I would pass on is just, focus on fewer things and too many things. Err on the side of focusing on fewer things and too many. And what brings you energy, like, because maybe social media is not your game, and but you feel like you have to be creating content there, but like you don't have to be. You can just focus on another area.
That's good advice. It's quite easy to be like, oh, but everyone says I have to be doing this, and then you just kind of do it half-heartedly, and then it doesn't work anyway, and then it's just like a downward spiral effectively, and just draining your energy further and further down.
My second one would be persistence. Sometimes you need to give yourself like enough time to find success. One kind of hears about like the overnight success, and they think that like that should happen for them, and if it doesn't, then it's a failure. But sometimes you just need to stick around long enough to be successful.
Mm-hmm. It takes 10 years to become an overnight success.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And where can everyone learn more about OfferingTree?
Yeah, you can go to our website at offeringtree.com. That's the best place. Check us out there. Otherwise, we're on Instagram mostly. Speaking of focus, we have like LinkedIn and Facebook. Actually, we have a great Facebook group, but like we post a lot on Instagram.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to talk to you today, Eddie. Thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. And I'll have all the links so everyone can come and learn more about OfferingTree and check it out if they are not already members.
Amazing. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Thank you for listening to the All Matt's Taken podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit follow, like, subscribe on your podcast platform of choice, leave us a review, and share with a teacher friend. This really helps others find the show so we can continue growing our yoga-loving tribe. I am endlessly grateful for all your support. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next time.